This is Tyrone Gethers, Jr., your host of the Sources of Inkwell, live on KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. You can check out this broadcast in a number of ways. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio. All you got to do is type in KUAW, and we'll pop right up. Now, on a couple of those mods, you can actually see us and interact with us as well, too. So play around with it and see what you can do. You can also call us at 816-599-6893 to actually interact with us live on the air, or you can always submit a comment on whatever module that you're on, be it YouTube or Twitter or Facebook Live. Now, I have a familiar face with me right now.
Hey, I'm Trinae Reed.
You know who she is. She's been here a lot, starting to become a mainstay on KUAW. Who knows, maybe she might be itching for her own show. Or she might boot me off of mine. I don't know. But it's always a good time having you here. We have a good conversation. And we like to prep before our shows, too. And Trinae likes to bounce ideas off of me. And my last show that was on the air, Trinae produced that one. And she also produced this one as well, too. So let's just dive right in because I'm like looking at my chops. I'm looking at the screen right now and somebody's swimming. And this is going to be deep.
Okay.
So go ahead.
All right. So today we're gonna talk about Black people and Christianity.
Good. Black people and Christianity.
Yes. Now I know a common misconception is, especially with our community, that's the European religion or American religion or whatever. But in my reading, I'm doing a lot of reading lately. I found out that Christianity was actually in Africa first before it even reached Europe. And when you think about it, geographically, it makes sense. Now, Israel, where a lot of people want to, Jerusalem and all that, where Jesus Christ and all that happened, that is literally right next to the border of Egypt. As we all know, Egypt is on the continent of Africa. So geographically speaking, it's much closer to Africa than it is to Rome, Europe, Catholic Church, all of that.
But let's be real here, though, with that. That area where it is now, geographically, well, I like the word geographically because that is Africa.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's nothing but a man-made canal that separates that. Exactly. That is a part of Africa.
Exactly.
And I think that was taken out of Africa, I would say, at the end of the 19th century or 20th century? Yeah, I got to look that up. But I mean, because that is technically a part of Africa. And then with saying that, Israelites were nomadic people, so they moved around a lot too.
Exactly. Because there's actually a scripture in the Bible, Genesis 2:10-13, and it basically references a bunch of natural resources that were found in ancient times. And these natural resources, as of today, are found in present-day Sudan, which is just south of Egypt, north of Ethiopia. Ethiopia was civilization that actually went to war with the Egyptians back in those ancient times. And Ethiopia was actually on that side of the continent was the main civilization that was prevalent.
Well, Ethiopia used to be the name of the entire continent of Africa.
They used to run it.
Yeah. Also, on top of that, the body of water that touches Ethiopia, they call it the Ethiopian Sea.
It's actually in the Bible. It's referred to as the Red Sea. But the Red Sea is actually right here in my notes. The Red Sea is right on the west side. You got Egypt, Sudan, Eritrea.
Yeah, Eritrea.
And Ethiopia is right right next to each other. So basically Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And then on the eastern side, you get Saudi Arabia and Yemen on the east. And we all know that's considered subcontinent Asia. So geographically, it makes perfect sense for Christianity to be not only in Africa, especially northeastern Africa, but in central sub Asia as well.
Right.
Which, when you look at the writings and everything, the bigger libraries, things of that time, you had, the Library of Alexandria, all of that.
Timbuktu.
You also had regions in Ethiopia as well, not to mention in southern Asia. You know what I'm saying? China, those areas as well. Christianity spread over there as well. So they say that around between 40 AD and 60 AD, I couldn't really get an exact date, but Mark, the evangelist, one of the 4 apostles sent out to spread the word, he traveled to the west. Now, west of Israel, as we all know, is Africa. Now, he set up shop in Alexandria, Egypt. Now, we know Alexandria, Egypt from, all the great Greek mythology and all of that. Well, it's actually in Egypt, in Africa. So it only makes sense that Christianity was in Africa well before any European set foot in Africa.
Even the Bible tells you that,
Africa had 1,000 years of Christianity before any European set foot there.
Yes, it did.
So it's not the white man's religion. It is just a religion that started, like majority of religions, in that centralized Central Africa, Eastern, Western Asian part of the world, the Middle East, as we call it.
Right, and someone's like, I had an argument with this guy, and I said, no, that is a part of Africa. And I said, think about it, because they're trying to take Northern Africa out of Africa. Exactly. For a while, there was a debate where they were trying to make Northern Africa part of Europe.
Yeah.
This was like within the past, 10 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
And this guy was talking about how sub-Saharan Africa, he was talking down on it. And I was in this class, and this is a white guy talking about this. And I looked up and I said, I disagree. And I said, how dare you sit up here and say that Northern Africa needs to be part of Europe? He said, well, the Northern Africans feel that way. I said, well, have you ever been to Northern Africa? He said, no. I said, well, I've been to Morocco. And I said, right, now when I went there, it's different. I said, they have European values, but no, they consider themselves African. And then and then there were 2 black women that agreed with him, and I went off. I snapped. And then the professor was Nigerian, and she was allowing that conversation to take place. And it was so bad, I almost got thrown out of a master's level class because I felt very disrespected because they were all about Northern Africa seceding from Africa and becoming Europe. They were all about it. And I said, no, you can't do that. So you already got the Middle East, and also the people who are there right now, they're not the original people.
Exactly. That's why they fight so much. And not only that, it tells you in the Bible that that area will always be in turmoil until God comes back. So that's another reason why I kind of just stay away from it. Because when you think about it, it's just lines in the sand drawn by rich people. Whoever or wherever they come from, it's just lines in the sand drawn by rich people. And that's not the actual borders that are naturally there. And that's why you have so much conflict. You got tribes who for centuries did not get along, trapped within these borders, and y'all telling them y'all a country now, y'all one people.
Yeah.
And they like, no, we're not. So it can be complicated, but when you get down to it and you start doing your research and you read not just the Bible, but just history in general, because history in general will also tell you certain things that happen in the Bible happen in history in general. There's evidence of that.
It is.
So it'll tell you well, this war happened in the Bible, yes, but geographically speaking, this is where it was at. We have evidence of that. We got warheads, we got artifacts, we got this, that, and third. So the Bible, and not only that, a lot of the places in the Bible of great significance, Mount Sinai, Jerusalem, these places, they're in Africa. Moses parted the Red Sea, that's on the border of Africa and subcontinent Asia. It's right there. Nobody's lying to you. You can look at a map and see that. So how can you tell me that Africa didn't have Christianity before Europeans when a lot of the events that took place happened on the continent?
It did.
You know?
It did. And also, where were the Romans trying to conquest?
Exactly. They were trying to conquer Africa.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So,
After, during the First and Second Punic War.
Exactly. And I mean, you got to think about what exactly does Africa have? It has a mountain of natural resources, not just oil. We're talking diamonds, gold, cobalt.
Mm-hmm.
Things we use today
Mm-hmm.
are mined in Africa, taking
Mm-hmm.
advantage of it. That's not even counting fruits, bananas, chocolate, like sugar, things like that. So they had all these things and more then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were tribes of Africa that treated gold like trash because it was just everywhere.
Yeah, look at Mansa Musa. He gave away all that gold, and it still didn't hurt him at all. Yeah,
compared to his riches.
richest man of all time.
You know, Timbuktu. They talk about the citizens of Timbuktu, even the lower level citizens of Timbuktu, walking around in fine silks and linens with beautiful gold and jewels on them.
Mm-hmm.
So it had it in abundance to the point it was nothing to them.
Right.
Put it in the hair, make earrings, bracelets, smelting it down. This is how the Bronze Age came about.
Mm-hmm.
It just had a plethora of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, even historically speaking, and you read the Bible or not, historically speaking, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and the sad part about it is sometimes you gotta go in the area that is, I don't want to say enemy grounds. When I was over in Spain,
Mm-hmm.
they had a strong Moorish and Northern African influence. They had people who looked like us ruling their kings.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a king, his nickname was the Wise, because he allowed the sultans to take over.
Mm-hmm.
And in Cordoba, where he lived,
Mm-hmm.
if you walked in town square, you see Jewtown, Muslimville,
Mm-hmm.
Christian City.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they lived amongst each other, but in the middle, where all your commerce was, where all your meeting places were, everyone came in and worked together.
Yeah.
Because they knew it was not much of a difference.
Right.
But now, when you look at the European aspect of Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
there's all this division. How many times have you went to, churches
Mm-hmm.
that were ran by, that had a strong European influence, and they were teaching you to hate people who look like you based on the religion that they were in.
Exactly. And my whole thing with that is, like, you look at the King James Version. Historically speaking, King James, and this should be widely known by now, he rewrote the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
He omitted parts, changed
Mm-hmm.
parts, added parts, and he did that strictly and solely so he could get a divorce. So, the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is our first writings of the Bible, is in Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
That was found in Jericho in Israel, which is Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, is right there. Like you said, historically speaking, it was Africa.
It's Africa.
So he took those writings. Now, not to mention that those writings were translated into a multitude of languages.
Mm-hmm.
So those writings, those Dead Sea Scrolls, they had someone in that area translate that, took it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
This is how Christianity got spread. Now, when King James decided, hey, I want to get a divorce from her, and this, that, and the third, for whatever reason, I think it was because he couldn't get an heir or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he rewrote it and then mass produced it and pushed that. And then anybody who taught against his version became the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, then you get the Roman Catholic Church. They did their little twist to it, their versions. So everybody put their own little spin on it. That's why you got so many different denominations in Christianity.
Well, you have those denominations because of what Martin Luther did.
Yeah,
Back during the 14th century,
Yeah.
15th century, he went against the Catholic Church because the Catholic Church was out there pimping folk,
Exactly.
saying,
Taxes and all
yes,
that.
yeah, because you had church and state.
Mhm.
Back then, you had two ruling classes. You had the nobility and you had the church.
Exactly.
If you weren't one of those two, you were a commoner. You were
Church has its own army.
It did,
Mhm.
and also the church at times influenced the king,
Exactly.
and vice versa, the king influenced the church. Either way it goes, they work together to keep the common man and woman down.
Mhm.
Now, with the Catholic Church doing all that, they was charging folk for prayers.
Yeah.
It was bad
Mhm.
to where he said, you know what, I'm going to start Protestant church. And everything that's not Catholic but Christian, like, your Lutherans, your Protestants, your Baptists, your Methodists, your Kojics, they're all seen as Protestants.
Yep.
They are which is protesting of the Catholic Church,
Exactly.
to the point to where you got different denominations within the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
You know.
There was a point in time where you couldn't even be a monarch unless you were Catholic.
Exactly.
They were what's it called? Where you go from one religion to the other.
Conversion.
They were doing conversions on pretty much anybody who wasn't Catholic. You couldn't even be a monarch unless you were Catholic.
Right.
So they was running things.
And then I remember one time people didn't even consider Catholics Christians. Because you had people that was worshiping, they were worshiping the saints and all that kind of stuff too. But they said no, Catholicism is a branch of Christianity.
Yeah.
Now I remember one time my mother, she made a very bold statement, and she said, I think Islam is a branch of Christianity, and people went nuts when she said that.
Honestly, I can't disagree with you, mother.
I can't either.
Honestly, back in high school, they made us go over. We had a class called religions, so we went over all 7 of the major religions, and top 3: Judaism, Islam, Christianity.
It's all the same thing.
All 3. We looked at the story. It's all the same story.
It is.
You look at the geographical location. It's all in the same place.
Yeah, it's so many strong similarities.
So it's like.
But you got the most beat between them 3.
Yeah. Yeah, and it all meets up. Like, you got the same central thing. You got the Trinity, for whatever reason, however you want to call it. You got your main guy, the son of that guy, and then there's some ghostly spirit about you. And then you got, your disciples, or, what do they call them in Islam? Prophets. You got those guys, you got people who go out and preach the gospel, and the story is the same. This omniscient figure, sent down, sacrifice, died for all of us, left a set of rules. You're supposed to follow these rules, go through him, and that's how you get to the promised land.
Right.
Promised land is different for everybody. Some believe in hell, some don't.
Yeah.
So, but it's all boiled down. It's the same thing.
And just like you got different branches of Judaism, you got different branches of Christianity.
You got different branches of Islam.
Yeah, Islam. But then when you look at it, though, when you look at how Christianity was supposed to be taught, and you look at Islam, and you look at Judaism, how it was originally taught, all intertwines.
And everybody who's part of that religion believes they are the chosen people. When you think about it, the Jews believe they're the chosen people. The Christians believe that we're saved, so we're the chosen people. The Muslims believe we're the chosen people because we follow Muhammad, and everybody believes they're the chosen one. So it's like, okay, you got a lot of common.
But then look at that story in the Old Testament about how each tribe was representation of each major religion and how they feud.
Not only that, I was actually having a conversation with a friend about this the other day. Because I read it. I read it for word, and I told her, I was like, it's weird because as I was reading it, I interpreted it as the different races. That's how I interpreted it. And based on history, I'm not pointing a finger at nobody, just based on history. There's one passage in there that talks about a group of people with fair skin and red hair. And I'm thinking to myself, that sounds like white people. It basically says this group of people is envious, has hatred in their heart, devious, lie, all this other stuff. And I look over the course of history, from the time we first written down up until today. And I look, and I'm like, I examine every word, the reason behind it, why are you fighting, what is the purpose of it.
Right.
And the only people who I can see who just do it for no reason is them.
Europeans.
And again, I'm not judging nobody.
Right, no.
I'm just going based off of what I read, how I interpreted it, and how I see history. So we took it as that's a breakdown of the different races and how they interact with each other. And you can see some similarities in there. And I mean, there's a couple passages in there that describes a few different people of color, and they all act different.
They do.
So I don't know if it's tribes. I don't know if it's people. I don't know. I didn't write the Bible. I can't tell you. But I do know it is up for interpretation. And then once you factor in too, it's been rewritten so much. I don't know what the original passage is even talking about.
But then here's the thing, though. Like, we talked about the European piece. And one thing that black people say is, well, the Bible is a book that enslaves us. Well, you have nothing but Africans in the Bible with the exception of Romans.
Exactly.
And we all know that.
Roman was the enemy in the Bible.
But see, during that time period, though, you had a lot of dark-skinned Romans, too.
Yeah.
Think about it. Hannibal won the first Punic War. You mean tell me that you got all them Africans up there, nothing happened?
Right.
But anyway, with saying that, I think people are caught up, if you look at the historical piece, that when Europeans got it, and like you said, rewrote it, they used that book to enslave.
Yeah.
And think about it.
You can put any connotation on it.
You can. Like, think about it. If you and I look different, and I come to you and I say, God made me in his image, and you look different than me, and I say, God made me in his image.
Exactly.
And I'm talking about this omniscient, all-powerful being,
Exactly.
and I look like him, and you look different. What am I saying? You're automatically going to bend the knee, as they would say,
Exactly.
because I'm coming at you like that. But if you really read the Bible,
it doesn't describe any people.
God is, yeah.
Even Jesus. It describes Jesus having hair like sheep's wool. I met a lot of white people in my day. Some with curly hair, some with bushy hair. But majority of people I met with hair like sheep's wool are men and women of color. So, and even in history, like the Ethiopians, they had a lot of writings in Ethiopia describing the people that they came across, people in the kingdom and this and that nature. Ethiopians even describe fair-skinned Africans.
Yeah.
So, it's not saying that there were no fair-skinned Africans, light-skinned, or however you want to call it. Black people come in all different shades.
Right. Africa is the architectural DNA type.
It is.
Everything you see on the face of this earth is in Africa. There are blonde-haired, blue-eyed Africans.
Yeah.
Not diluted by European blood,
No.
but because that's how they are.
Yeah.
Blonde-haired, blue-eyed. Yeah, with curly, woolly hair.
Yeah.
So,
But
so
like, even science, you can't get any color out of white. You can get every color out of black. So even in science, you genetically speaking, the darker gene is the more dominant gene.
Right.
The recessive gene mixed with the dominant gene is how you get all these different colors.
Exactly.
So even in that, you know, like, okay, there could be any color of Africans. Even go to Africa today, you go to Northern Africa, you got
You see
light
all kinds.
fair-skinned Africans.
You see Africans that got slanted eyes like Asians. All that.
All of
Yeah,
that.
all of it.
So, and then not to mention Africa, because it was so rich in resources and so geographically close to Asia, they've been doing trade for centuries together before Europeans even came into the program.
There was a Chinese geneticist that said, look, I did all this research. I did all these samples.
Yeah.
And my results are this. Chinese people are descendants of Africans.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
It is.
And I'm like, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right. I mean, like, and see, here's the thing. Black people in the United States need to realize that we've been told a bastardized version of our history. You know, right? The colonizers came and colonized and told us things that we believed. You know?
Convenient version.
Exactly. We think that our history started with slavery. It did not. Slavery just interrupted it. There were so many freed blacks here of African descent. Matter of fact, if you look at it, there's a letter that George Washington wrote to the Sultan of Morocco that was requesting funds because he didn't have any money. And for a while, if you looked at the president speaking, I think Trump's the one that interrupted it. You will see the American flag and the Moroccan flag right next to it when the president will speak. Why? I mean, it wasn't by accident. No, it was on purpose. I mean, like, think about it. Crispus Attucks. Crispus Attucks was the first man shot during the Revolutionary War. Why? They shot her around the world. Why? Because him and a bunch of colonizers were yelling at protest at the British. Now think about that. No slave could be next to his master yelling at his master's master. No, he was a freed man that was already over here. You know? Yeah, Columbus tells you that. If you look at Columbus's brother's journal, they didn't step foot on what was called the United States. Why? They weren't allowed to. When they were trying to dock, there were a bunch of black faces walking up and down the coastline, daring the ship not to dock. Columbus's brother wrote, we could not stop. They were dark faces. We were told they were Africans. Why? They had African navigators on their boats. Columbus didn't know what he was doing. They had African navigators because they were already over here. They were already over here, and that's evidence of that. If you look at the Grand Canyon, there's hieroglyphics all throughout the Grand Canyon. The United States government knew that. You know why? Because they blew them up. But if you still go there, you'll see them. Yeah.
We were here first. Not only we were here first, Asians were here first too.
Yeah.
Asians came over there by Alaska.
The land bridge. the land bridge. Right, the Great Land Bridge. Yep.
Because I believe they did genetic research on Native Americans here in America and found out they were like 60 or 70%
Asian. Yeah.
So,
but also, then the Asians too, though. I mean, the Native Americans. We need to stop saying I got Native American in me.
No, we were.
Yeah, they have us in them, and they will tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at their stories, you look at their religion, they will tell you that.
And it's like, I also was watching a documentary on pyramids, and they said that they found similar pyramids in style, architecture, and everything in Ethiopia, Indonesia, and the Mayans. All have similar architecture.
All through Mesoamerica. Yeah, yeah.
So, and then not only that, there's no evidence of pyramids before the Ethiopians conquered Egypt. So they believe the Ethiopians took the pyramids to Egypt and taught them how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So even in that sense, that lets you know, like you said, we were here first navigating. Columbus had African navigators on his boat.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you not only were we intellectually smart, because we also spread knowledge around the world across medicine, astrology, geography, science,
hygiene,
hygiene, cooking your food,
not living with your animals.
That was another one. But we also established religion, because all the three oldest religions in the world, three major religions in the world, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, all started in the same area.
Yes. And they were,
the same time, actually.
And also, and those religions also talked about relationship.
Yes.
Personal relationship with God.
Yeah.
You know, monotheistic. And for a while, Egypt was monotheistic. King Tut's dad, he was like, no, we're going to be monotheistic, one God.
Yep. I mean, like, yeah, even you look at the ancient religions before Christianity, they all kind of had the same type of structure. A major central God, per se, and this is across the world.
Yeah, the one creator.
Roman, Egyptian, Greek, whatever. You got one creator. The creator had not necessarily an equal, but a direct underling. That person had their own, and from that one, they branched off many more. So even with Zeus, you can tell you had Zeus, you had Hera. You know what I mean?
But Zeus wasn't the original one.
He wasn't.
Nope, he wasn't. It was
Titus?
Nah, it was
They like had to defeat his father.
it was Kronos, then it was Uranus.
That's what it was.
Uranus was the one that came out of chaos. Cause you got
Uranus was Neptune.
No, that's the planet. But originally, the sky that we look at right now, that's the primordial deity. That's Kronos' father.
Okay, yeah.
So you got the sky and you got the earth.
Yeah, Gaia.
Uranus and Gaia. And then they had babies. They had, Kronos, which is time, who took the sickle and cut out Zeus's Uranus' privates, which fell into the ocean, which eventually came up with Aphrodite. But then Kronos tried to swallow up all of his babies because he was prophesized his kids do him the way he did his dad.
Right.
And then they end up the Titan Mercury, the world of Titans and the Olympians. Yeah. So.
And they end up beating them.
Right. And then the Olympians took over. And then the Titans were trying to come back because the Giants were trying to help them. Yeah. So I mean, it's all about taking the throne.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you look at Christianity, Satan tried to take the throne. Right?
I'm not familiar enough with Islam and all that. But
You were right.
Try to take the over there too.
I'm sure. I mean, because it's all about who's in charge, who's trying to be God,
Yeah.
And now, but then one thing that all these religions have in common is you got man trying to be God.
Of course.
And trying to control God.
Yep. Trying to rewrite it.
Yeah. That's dangerous.
Very dangerous. You say in the Bible, he struck them down with Babylon. They're trying to build that tower.
Tower of Babel.
Yeah. And they say that's how we got all the different languages.
Yeah, because Nimrod wanted to build a tower so high that he would take an arrow and pierce the heart of God.
Yeah. And he struck it down, destroyed the towers, sent everybody off with different languages. That's how we got all the different nations. Well, okay, I guess.
It happens. Yeah. I mean, because at one time everyone did speak the same tongue. They did.
I mean, they had to. They were all in the same area.
And then when you break down language, though, if you really, really, really break down language,
I love going from English to Spanish.
They connect.
Yeah, you can see it.
Languages connect.
Yeah.
They do.
Because I took Latin I took it in high school with an easy A. And after I took that class, even though it was only for 1 year, I started connecting dots to certain things. And I'm like,
Yep.
this is crazy.
Latin gave birth to Italian. It gave birth to French.
Language, right?
Yep, it gave French, Spanish, and then also about 30% of Spanish is Arabic.
I didn't know that.
Yep. I mean, come on now. For 800 years, we
That
were there.
I mean, look at the numbers
Yeah.
you use.
Right.
Like,
I mean, yeah.
So it makes sense.
And if you look at what was it? Sugar means the same exact thing in Spanish and in Arabic.
Really?
Yep.
That's crazy.
It is.
Yeah, because, like, I don't know Hebrew, but I do know a little bit of Latin. And I can imagine some of the words in Hebrew have to be similar in Latin since they're so old. But
yeah, you said something like Coach Banks was over at UA. He was my track coach, and he and I co-taught, and he opened my eyes to a whole lot. He said, if Hannibal won the first and second Punic War, we wouldn't be speaking English in the United States. I said, what would we be speaking? He said Hebrew.
yeah,
I'm like, wow, it blew my mind. I said, I thought about it. I'm like, yeah.
I didn't realize how many great generals, especially over in the Eastern Hemisphere, were black.
And they didn't kill each other. Like that was a big three. It was Hannibal, Africanus, and there was another one. And they fought against each other, but they never killed each other. Yeah. It was. Yeah, I mean, like when Africanus defeated Hannibal in the Second Punic War, they didn't kill Hannibal. No, they didn't kill him. Well, I wouldn't say let him go. I think he was like in their employ, but they didn't kill him. They didn't kill him.
I mean, that's
Now his family, that's different.
Yeah.
I mean, what they did to his family, I can't say on the air. But let's put it like this: that broke him down.
Yeah.
What they did to his family.
I mean, that's a brilliant mind.
Yeah, you can't think about that. I mean, like in this country right now, the United States when during World War II, the Russians and the Americans, United States, they liberated those camps. Now the Russians was killing all the Nazis. Well, the United States said, no, Project Paperclip. We're gonna take these Nazi doctors and hide them in the United States or hide them in South America and use their knowledge. Because like if you saw Lovecraft Country, there was. Yes, it was. Like if you look at Lovecraft Country, they were talking about this doctor in the United States that was doing these weird experiments to black people, which is true. Well, they did that. A lot of those weird experiments the Nazis did, yeah, there were medical breakthroughs because of that, but it's the process of how it was done, and they utilized that for that knowledge base. So like, so a lot of our medical breakthroughs came from what went on in concentration camps. And those who are listening, concentration camps weren't just Jews in there. No, it was black people in there. It was gays. Yep, people who were Slavic, people who were Russian, people who were homosexual. All that, So
even say, forget Hitler, and you end up in there, and you be full-blooded German.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. You had Germans in there too. Yeah. So I mean, and like that's the thing when you look at it, when it all comes down to it, it's all about who controls the book, who controls the narrative, who controls it.
Because like, you read the Bible has literally has every subject matter.
It does.
You're looking for. Money, friendships, relationships, work, slaves, everything's in it. But how you spin it, because everybody knows you can cherry pick all day. I know there's some people who can cherry pick the worst out of the Bible and make it sound like the worst book in the world, and I know people who can cherry pick the best out of the Bible and make it sound like the greatest book on earth. It's all about what you cherry pick and the narrative and the connotation you put on it.
Right.
So that book in the hands of somebody, even the Bible tells you, that book in the hands of somebody who doesn't have the calling is a dangerous.
It's very dangerous. I mean, how many times people use the Bible to justify their things? And like, they did. Slave masters did.
Like it's not abnormal. And so like even here in America, like wasn't Waco like a perversion of the Bible or something?
It was cults.
Yeah. So like however you want to spin that book, you can do that. And if you can hold that book and control a group of people with it, and in a sense control their version of history with it, you can truly do some damage.
Yeah, and like someone who's atheist told me that there was never a mass shooting or a war done in the name of atheists. I said, wait a minute, that's silly. I said, so you mean to tell me that all atheist people are? They said, no. I said, people who commit all the crimes are people who are religious or Christian. I'm like, that's not true.
Yeah.
I said, because personally, I believe, and I know what I'm saying might be controversial. I believe that there's no such thing as atheist. I believe that an atheist is someone who refuses to believe.
Yeah, everyone believes in something.
Right, everyone believes in something. They do. And my thing is, when it all comes down to it, it comes down to who controls what when it comes to religion.
Exactly.
You know?
And I mean, Islam is a good indicator of that, because in Islam, they have what's called the jihad, which is basically religious war. And they view Western civilization as part of what they need to fight against with jihad. You know, so again, it's about the narrative. If you grew up in Islam and they're teaching you all these things are wrong, and then you turn on the TV and the Western world is doing everything
that you're saying right,
is wrong,
yes,
that equates in your mind, okay, that's the devil. You know what I mean? And if you don't explain to them jihad is, it's a religious war, but it's not like artillery warfare. Then they
spiritual warfare.
Yeah, they're going to take it to a whole different level.
It's all about interpretation. And the Bible talks about spiritual warfare too. You know, and then also on the same time, this pastor made a good point. He said, you should be, if you're a believer, you're a Christian, sin should offend you.
Regardless of what it is.
Regardless of what if you believe in God, whether you're Jewish, Muslim, Christian, sin should offend you. So if you're over in the Western world, there's things on TV that offends me because it's sinful.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Sin should offend you.
Exactly.
And my thing is the way that they believe, yes, what that person's doing is sinful. If you feel the same way too, you're on the same page.
Exactly.
But then, like, you know, you have these churches that tell you, you can't, them ain't your people. But really it is. Think about Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ will sit up there and talk to a non-believer.
Yeah.
He died for the non-believer and the believer as well too.
Exactly.
Like I tell these people, you know, them people that you preaching about hate, Jesus Christ died as what you saying is wrong.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, he's dying for you because you're being judgmental. He was you too.
Exactly.
You know, and then like there was and I got a real good friend, real close friend. She always corrects me on who this is. I don't know if it was Constantine or Constantinople. It's one of the two. They said, I'm sorry, Charlemagne or Constantine. They said if you see a non-believer up under a tree, you don't cut down that tree. You sit up under the tree of that non-believer and you share your religion. And we did that. It was dumb. That's why you see, for example, look at the days of the week. They're named after the Nordic gods. Look at the holidays you celebrate. There's always something pagan. You don't say happy Easter to a Christian. That Easter is a different religion.
Exactly.
It's resurrection for us.
Exactly.
You know, Passover for Jews.
Exactly.
You know,
it's different.
It's different. A bunny rabbit pooping eggs is a different.
That's a whole different thing.
Exactly.
It's a
whole different thing.
Yeah.
So then when you blur, you do exactly what I saw in this church.
Mm-hmm.
I went to this church one time in Spain. And in this church, you saw Catholicism, right? But then you saw this gated wall with this weird writing. And I asked the guy, I said, Pepe, what's that? It's a whole other religion. I said, in a Catholic church? He said, yes. Let me tell you the story. He said there was two different religions, Catholicism and what they are. And I forgot the name. And he said, the story goes, the two religious leaders said, look, you can't be here, and we can't, you know, one got to reign supreme. They said, well, look, let's start a fire and throw in our religious text. They said, so in the fire, we're going to throw our Bible, and you're going to throw in your religious text. And according to the story, now, you can believe it or not, one, the fire did not consume it. It burned around it. The other, the book, flew out of the fire. They said it's a draw. So because it's a draw, we're going to share it. And that's why you have both of them there.
Wow.
And I'm like, huh.
That's interesting.
It is interesting because, I mean, for some strange reason, they had a draw.
Yeah.
And they're sharing.
Okay.
So it goes to show you that we're not going to tear down the tree. We're going to share.
Right. And I put it like this, like Kevin Samuels always said this, like the world doesn't owe you understanding. I like to put it like this. The Bible tells you got to love everybody.
You do.
It don't say nothing about me agreeing with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I can disagree with your life choices and let you know, hey, I don't really think that's right. According to, what I'm saying, what I believe and what I was taught, that's not right. But I'm not going to judge you for it.
No, we shouldn't judge. Judge you not if you not be judged.
But don't bring that on you.
Right. You're right. Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
So
don't force that on me.
Right. I'm not going to force myself on you. Don't force yourself on me.
And the Bible also says don't force Christianity on nobody too.
You're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to.
You got to be willing to open their whole heart.
Because they'll regurgitate.
Exactly. So I'm like, when it comes to Christianity, it doesn't matter what denomination you are. Like Eddie Griffin said it the best. He's like, I don't care who the messenger was, but did you get the message? And Christianity is just like that. Between Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, boil it down, it's the same thing.
Someone's bringing you a message.
Did you get the message? And that's my whole thing. Because I started doing research into Islam and stuff, and I realized what they put on TV about how jihad, all of this other stuff, and they want to kill you, this, that, and that. No, they don't. Islam is a very peaceful religion. When you actually read it and study it and talk to people who are actually Muslim, it's a very peaceful religion.
See, people think that defense is the same as aggression. It's not.
It's not. It's not. And if you see your way of life being attacked or your religion being attacked and they painting a broad stroke across all of y'all, yeah, you're going to say, hey, that's not me. Like, how many of us have been walking around with Muslims before 9/11 didn't even know?
Right.
Didn't care.
Didn't care at all.
You know, like I didn't.
I didn't either. I still don't either.
You know, I don't care.
Yeah, we all God's children.
You know, if you live in the hood, you talk to them every day. They run the gas station.
But then if you look at some of their lifestyle choices, it's what you do as a black person. So like when you're in some of these European ran churches and they're talking about Muslim, like I told my students, I said Muslim, Sarah, sad to say, is a cold word to talk about you. I was up in this church one time and this dude was talking bad about Muslims. And I had black folks in this people going, yeah. I said, no, he's talking about you. Them are your people.
Yeah. Like, a lot of people don't even realize, like, how Muslim, in Islam, I mean, they got, the job and everything. They got to cover themselves. A lot of people don't realize Christianity, as a woman, you're still supposed to do that.
Then you know what? Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that.
Same thing.
And same for Judaism, too.
Yeah.
And also, they cover themselves. And also, on top of that, they say Muslims pray to the east. At one time, Christians prayed to the east too.
I believe it's towards Mecca.
Yes, but like Christians prayed towards Jerusalem.
Yeah, it's the same place. it's in the same place.
Yeah.
Like that's the crazy thing to me. Like I've heard people like Judaism talk about Mount Sinai, and Mount Sinai is in the Bible.
Wasn't Mount Sinai the highest point in the world at one time?
At one time,
yeah. Yeah. It's not. It's Everest, but yeah.
That's where Moses came down with the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
That's where we got our commandments from. That's in Christianity and Judaism. I don't know if Islam references it in the same manner, but I have heard Mount Sinai come up in Islamic teachings.
But yeah.
So y'all talking about literally the same geographical space.
And earlier you made a good point. You said the message and the messenger. Now sometimes think about UPS, FedEx, and United States Postal Service.
Right.
They're all different messengers that deliver your message differently. Because if I send Trinae a letter through the post office, it's going to come differently than UPS. It's going to come differently than FedEx, but it's still the same letter for me.
Exactly. It's the same thing.
It's handled differently.
Handled very differently.
Same thing, though.
Same thing. It's the same thing. I heard one guy say that Islam is the Old Testament, Judaism is the New Testament, and Christianity believe in both. And I was like, what?
I kind of heard something like that, but it was flipped around a little bit differently.
Yeah. Okay, I might be getting twisted.
Yeah. It said Judaism is the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christianity is the New Testament.
Like, so
Islam is both.
basically saying we all come from the same book.
We do.
We come from the same book.
Same.
What part we want to read.
Same region.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about
For people to say that Christianity is the white man or the European religion is just flat out wrong. It's wrong from a geographical sense, it's wrong from a historical sense, and it's even wrong from the religious sense.
In a cultural sense, too.
Yeah, so, and not to mention, I met a lot of different types of people from all over the continent of Africa. Nigerians, Ghanaians, South Africans, Ethiopians, everybody. yet to come across any black person who believes Christianity and lives it as hard as they do. I mean, maybe down in the Caribbean, maybe, I don't know. But the Africans I've come across, if they weren't Muslim, they're Christian. And honestly, from the way they live their life, I couldn't tell you. It's the same thing.
Yeah, that's deep.
So,
that's deep. We got any comments or anything, Mr. Walker? Okay, we're gonna check and see if there's any comments. We're gonna keep it going, but yeah, I mean, you make stellar points in what you're saying, because I mean, like, the closer to home, the more relative you see.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it's crazy because like, when they brought us over here and they perverted that book, I always wondered, like, why didn't they reject Christianity? And I always wondered that because I'm like, if that's the religion of your master and you despise your master, why are you holding on so hard to his religion? And I realized it's not his religion.
It's not at all.
It's your religion that he twisted
and remixed
and manipulated to control you in a certain sense. Because you gotta remember, slaves weren't allowed to read nothing but the Bible. That was the only book they were
certain passages.
True.
Certain passages. Because Nat Turner was like, nah, this says something different.
Yeah. And I mean, they were rewriting. Like, because it blew me when I was reading the Bible studying, and the passage of how a slave is supposed to conduct themselves. And there's also a passage in there about how a master is supposed to conduct themselves with. But there's a whole passage on how a slave is supposed to conduct themselves. And I just thought, as I was reading it, I'm like, I wonder how many slave owners printed out just this part.
Yeah,
and gave it to them.
But didn't tell you how the master should act.
Right. He didn't tell you that part. And then I think of people like Frederick Douglass who like stole pages of books to teach himself how to read. Like, when he finally got his hands on the full Bible, like, I wonder what that did to him. You know what I mean? Because I know he was preached one thing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you get it and you read it, it's a whole different thing.
That's why in the Bible it says, read it for yourself.
It does.
There are many who deceive.
Yeah.
You gotta read it for yourself.
Yeah.
And but see, they left that part out too. They didn't tell you that. That's I mean, I've actually been to church one time, and a minister said the scripture wrong. You know, I mean, it happened. I mean, I'm not talking about the person.
No, I understand.
Yeah, but I mean,
sometimes, you know, they mix up couple words.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's why you got to read it for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, a friend of mine said he bought his Bible church. I always run a Bible church because I want to sit up here and open it up, and what you're saying, I want to see it too.
Yeah. And then I've also, because my version and the pastor version has been different. So the pastor reads the scripture, and I'm at the same address, and mine says something completely different. I mean, the gist of it might be the same, but it's worded completely different.
And also, it's okay to ask questions too.
Oh, you're supposed to.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get a better understanding if you don't.
Yeah.
You know? That's what Bible study for.
Exactly.
You know? So, that's why, that was my biggest hook up with church, was why we always got to meet at a church. Like, if all we need to do is gather together and have communion with each other for it to be church, because the Bible says wherever 2 or 3 may gather in my name, that's church. All we got to do it in the building all the time.
Yeah, it's like, I think that scripture is also looked at as conflict too. Like, if you and I got a conflict, you know, where there's 2 or 3 gathered in my name, there I am in the midst. It also goes with that as well too.
Yeah,
but you're right. Yeah, you're definitely right, because I mean, like, it also says go beyond the 4 walls of the building.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, how you going to spread the gospel if you stuck in the same place?
You gotta have outreach.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the church you and I grew up in, they had outreach.
Everywhere.
They did. They had an outreach center.
Outreach center, camps.
Yeah. Shout out to Palestine Missionary Baptist Church of Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Down to Earl Abel.
Yeah. Earl Abel days. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, time flies when you're having fun. It does. I mean, we should. And I know you didn't get through all your notes.
Oh, man.
So we can do a part 2.
Yeah. Well, we got through most of them.
Yeah,
we did.
Because I'm going to do some research too now, because you kind of lit the fire up under me.
Yeah. I'll say most of these are just places that were listed in the Bible that geographically are in Africa today. You know, so there's about 5 or 6 places specifically named. I gotta go back and find the actual scriptures of reference. But yeah, I found about 5 or 6 places specifically named in the Bible that are in Africa.
And we can put our heads together and do some more research and expound on this too.
Yeah, definitely.
So, on my show, I always get people a surprise. Got a surprise for you.
What's up?
I'm gonna let you close us out.
What? I don't really know how to do that. Okay.
No. Do your own thing. Don't do me. Do your own thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is Trinae Reed and
Tyrone Gethers Jr.
And we want to thank y'all for listening with us, chopping it up, having a good time. And we're going to leave y'all with just this thought, man. And think about, what we said and what they actually tell you. Don't try not to take things for face value anymore. So we're gonna sign out and just say, read between the lines. Y'all have a good night.
See y'all next week. That was good.
Thanks.
This is good salad. Shrimp, a regular salad. And grill you some shrimp. And put you some salad dressing. Take a little time. Broccoli. Oh, what else I got? Let's see. Seed for another recipe, and I've been using it for a minute. Also, I have croutons, Italian croutons. Okay, now it is complete. I have the shrimp, salad, got a little bit, okay. I put croutons on there, and let's see. This has been Single Moments. Okay, this has been Single Moment with Millie. And this is KUAW Radio. And if you want to, whenever you watch this, might not be right now, then you can see it on YouTube, Facebook later. You can go to KUAW Radio and you can watch all of these shows that has played on the radio. You can see Wave Your Grade up, and don't mention Tuesday shows is a bunch of lineups, and so just watch KUAW. They have some syndicated shows, and they may not be on Facebook or YouTube. They have audio only on a lot of shows too. So I will see you